as they looked at it, it flew in a zigzag pattern.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most famous, creepiest, and most convincing alien abductions throughout history.
What the hell's he doing out there?
Get back to the truck!
The hell is that?
Number 20, the Meng Zhaoguo Incident.
Can you describe its form?
No.
China doesn't have many abduction stories, but what they do have is quite interesting. The Meng Zhaoguo incident occurred back in 1994, when a man named Mang noticed a metallic glimmer coming from the nearby Dragon's Mountains. When he arrived to investigate, he was hit and knocked out by an unseen force. He later woke in his bed with no memory of what happened after that. But that's not all. Mang says he was subsequently visited by alien entities and, in at least one instance, made to copulate with them. As one of the stories go, Mang awoke one night to find himself floating in midair above his bed, joined by a female alien. Later, he would discover a jagged scar on his body.
Where did you get that scar on your chin?
Childhood accident.
Number 19. The Pascagoula Abduction.
Calvin Parker is always interested when UFO sightings or talk of aliens make national headlines.
It was the evening of October 11th, 1973, and both Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker were fishing in Mississippi's Pascagoula River. Hickson was preparing some bait when they both heard a kind of zipping sound and observed blue flashing lights in the sky. And that's when they saw the UFO, described by Hickson as a 30-foot-long object with a little dome on top. Three creatures emerged and took both men aboard the craft, subjecting them to some kind of physical exam. After being dropped off, Hickson and Parker frantically ran to the sheriff's office, both with an observable puncture wound on their arms. Both men passed a polygraph, and in 2019, a historical marker was placed on the riverbank to honor the story's legacy.
The two men were questioned under hypnosis and lie detectors, but their story remained intact.
Number 18. The Abduction of Amy Ryance.
Frank Taylor, Lieutenant JG, United States Navy Reserve 064199.
Lieutenant, welcome home.
On the night of October 4th, 2001, Keith and Amy Ryance, as well as their business partner, Petra Heller, were staying at their Australian winery. Around 11:15, Heller awoke to Amy Ryance levitating inside a rectangular beam of light, which was emanating from a disc-shaped object outside. She lost consciousness, and when she awoke, Amy was gone. Later the next day, Keith received a phone call informing him that Amy was found dehydrated and disoriented almost 500 miles away. She explained that she had been taken to a mysterious bright room, and people observed strange triangular arrangements over her legs. Natural roots were also growing in her recently dyed hair, suggesting that a significant amount of time had passed for Amy aboard the craft. Number 17. The UFO on Illley Moore.
Go! Stay on the road. Keep clear of the moors.
Found in West Yorkshire, England, is Illley Moore, and it was here on December 1st, 1987, that a man known by the pseudonym Philip Spencer was taking a walk. While strolling on the moor, Spencer observed a short, green creature that had a large head and rather long arms. As recalled by Spencer under hypnotherapy, he was pulled into a craft immediately after seeing the creature, where he was subjected to various medical experiments by other green aliens. He was then taken back to the moor. Spencer did manage to get photo evidence, which eventually spread through national newspapers and became one of the most iconic images of ufology.
And here's a copy of the photograph.
Oh my gosh.
Does this photo prove that aliens really do visit Earth?
Number 16. Kirsan Ilyumzhinov.
I am an extraterrestrial from the planet Vulcan.
Are UFO stories more credible if they come from someone with power or spotlight? You tell us. Kirsan Ilyumzhinov is a Russian head of state and ex-president of the World Chess Federation, a position he held from 1995 to 2018. According to him, he was visited by aliens wearing yellow spacesuits in September of 1997. Ilyumzhinov was allegedly abducted from his Moscow flat and taken aboard a craft, which traveled to a distant star. He asked to be brought back quickly since he had business to attend to on Earth, and the beings complied. Interestingly, it's been said that Ilyumzhinov believes in a connection between space and the game of chess.
I don't want to be with the others. I want to know what that is you're playing.
It's called chess.
Number 15. Obsessed with Tracy Jones.
Stay here.
If her stories are to be believed, then aliens have taken quite the liking to Tracy Jones. Jones repeatedly experienced something more akin to ghost activity, like objects being moved around the house and electronics failing without reason. But a big change came in 1997, when Jones miraculously healed from a surgery overnight. The next morning, Jones saw the bandage had been removed and the incision was completely healed. She then underwent hypnotic regression, revealing that she had been continuously abducted by aliens and subjected to medical experiments, including having her ova harvested. Jones continued to describe how these abductions had started when she was young and claimed her children had also become abductees.
Barry! Barry!
Number 14. The Allagash abductees.
The next memory any of the men had was being back on shore, staring up at the bright object as though posing for a portrait.
Anyone who has watched Unsolved Mysteries might remember the Allagash abductees. In August of 1976, 4 men were on an extended camping trip inside Maine's Allagash wilderness. One night, while doing some fishing, the men were accosted by what was described as a floating white light that looked like a miniature sun. The light followed the men as they paddled across the water in fright. And when they returned to their campsite, they found only coals, indicating that they had been gone for a very long time, despite agreeing that it only felt like 20 minutes. Back home, all 4 underwent hypnosis and recalled being abducted and facing invasive medical procedures. All 4 passed polygraphs, and all 4 recalled eerily similar experiences independent of each other.
Jack would say something about how he remembered the light, or Chuck Rack would say something that he remembered, or Charlie would say, and we'd sit there, my God, that's exactly what we remember.
Number 13. Antonio Villas Boas.
You don't know what we're dealing with here. She could have a dozen babies. She could lay 1,000 eggs.
Considered one of the first cases of alien abduction, the tale of Antonio Villas Boas has endured in UFO circles since it occurred in 1957. Boas was farming one night in October when he saw a red circular object descend from the sky and land nearby. Boas attempted to flee but was caught by 5-foot-tall humanoids who dragged him into the craft. They proceeded to take his blood, and he supposedly had intercourse with a female alien who would afterward make a gesture to indicate pregnancy. The story reached Olavo Fontes of Brazil's National School of Medicine, who tested Boas and found that he had absorbed a large amount of radiation.
We've gotten a steady dose, but not as much of it. Not strong enough to kill the cells, but consistent enough to damage our DNA.
Boas later became a respectable lawyer and maintained his story until his death in 1991. Number 12. The Deckmont Woods Encounter.
To this day, what's become known as the Deckmont Woods Incident is still the only reported UFO sighting to be formally investigated by the police.
Robert Taylor's incredible story is distinguished by the fact that it was officially investigated by the police, a very rare occurrence within UFO abduction stories. The forestry worker was in Livingston, Scotland, when he saw a dome-shaped object with small propellers in the clearing of a forest. 2 spheres then emerged from the craft and seized Taylor, causing him to lose consciousness. He later awoke in the clearing by himself with tattered clothes and injuries to his chin and thighs. Police investigated the incident as a criminal assault and saw what they described as ladder-shaped marks at the site of Taylor's abduction. A forensics team also studied the ripped trousers, finding that they were torn by a hooking and dragging motion.
What do you think happened?
I have no doubt that something landed there. What it was, I have no idea. 40 years on, it's still an unsolved Clayton.
Number 11. The Frederick Valentic Disappearance.
Melvin, this strange aircraft's just hovering on top of me again. It's hovering and it's not an aircraft.
Budding pilot Frederick Valentic was flying over the Bass Strait on October 21st, 1978, when something peculiar caught his eye. While piloting his small Cessna, Valentic radioed Melbourne Flight Service and told them that he was being pursued by a shiny metal aircraft with 4 bright landing lights. Flight Service responded curiously that there was no known aircraft in the vicinity of Valentic. The pilot insisted that the object was moving at high speeds, describing it as orbiting before going on to state it's not an aircraft. A metallic scraping sound was then heard over the radio, and that was the last anyone heard from Valentic. He's never been seen since, and despite extensive search and rescue, his plane was never found. UFOologists believe that he was attacked and ultimately abducted by a spacecraft.
After the clicking sound, I called him numerous times and got no response. Yeah.
Number 10. The A70 Incident.
Not kidnappings, but abduction as in...
You don't mean alien abductions, do you?
Gary Wood and his friend Colin Wright were out driving around 10 p.m. on August 17, 1992, when they noticed an unidentified black object in the sky and a bright wall of light in front of their car. After driving toward the light, the two men were startled to find their car facing in the opposite direction, having suddenly lost an hour according to the clock in the car. Wood and Wright would later claim under hypnotic suggestion that the drive towards the light gave them shocking pain and that aliens brought them onto their ship for a mysterious examination.
Grant these pilgrims, we pray, a happy journey and peaceful days.
Number 9. The John Day Family Abduction.
David, there's nothing out there. Nothing in the mist.
On a seemingly normal evening in 1974, John Day and his family were returning to their Essex home by car after an outing. Upon arriving, however, Day noticed that the trip had taken hours longer than it should have. Although odd, it wasn't until Day's entire family began complaining of nightmares that he would eventually volunteer for a hypnosis session in search of answers. Day, under suggestion, later claimed that he recalled driving into a strange mist in which a bright light drew the family car upwards into a spaceship. Other than this, and a few other fuzzy memories, however, Day had absolutely no recollection of the missing time.
What if you're wrong? Then I guess the joke would be on me.
Number 8. Whitley Steber's Communion.
I don't know what I'm doing, talking about this. I saw something, they saw something.
The story behind author Whitley Steber's encounter with the unknown is the first on our list to receive the major motion picture treatment. But it won't be the last. Steber was arguably best known for his horror classic, The Wolfen, when he published this much-discussed nonfiction book, Communion, in 1987. In the book, Steber describes an experience he had while at his cabin on December 26, 1985. Steber's description of losing time, lack of sleep, and repeated dealings with tall, pale, black-eyed beings fit the bill of what most perceive as the archetypal alien appearance, although Steber prefers to refer to them simply as the visitors.
Can we talk this over? Yeah, it looks like you're gonna sing White Christmas.
Number 7. The Clayton and Donna Lee Abductions.
What are you doing? What? What are you doing, man? What's going on? It's the middle of the night. What are you doing with the baby?
Both members of this Texas couple claim to have been abducted multiple times throughout their lives, with Clayton Lee stating his former encounter occurred when he was just a kid. To make matters more serious, Donna Lee even purported to have an unborn fetus stolen from her against her will. The couple state that they live in an atmosphere of constant fear that they'll be abducted again, and have appeared on shows like Fox News' The O'Reilly Factor to describe their experience with these alleged alien invaders.
Attention, attention, this is a red alert. Alien spacecraft are invading the city. Board the subway trains for immediate evacuation.
Number 6. The Strange Tale of Mrs. G.
I could get used to this.
What, me doing laundry?
Some stories of alien abductions are told by individuals clearly seeking fame, fortune, or simple attention. This doesn't seem to be so with the anonymous Mrs. G, however, who claims that she was visited by aliens while washing clothes in her backyard. Her story deals with a brilliant blue light that hovered above her and lifted her up into an alien craft in 1965. She reported encountering 3 strange figures wearing reflective metallic suits. Then, Mrs. G felt as if she was hit sharply on the back of her neck, whereupon she found herself back at home, hours later, with laundry still in her basket.
You know what? From now on, you're going to do some chores. You're going to wash the laundry, you're going to fold it.
Number 5. The Manhattan Transfer Abduction.
Monsieur Neri, what do you want?
I just want to know that it's really happening.
Linda Cortile Napolitano was living in a New York City high-rise when she claimed to have been visited and abducted by aliens who whisked her right from an open apartment window in 1989. Napolitano pointed to a nasal surgery, of which she had no recollection as proof, offering up a new bump next to her nose as evidence. Her story of abduction was reportedly witnessed by 2 bodyguards supposedly working a United Nations security detail. In the aftermath of the event, both men allegedly suffered psychotic breakdowns. Despite scrutiny, Napolitano remained adamant about her story, which included being led inside a clam-shaped UFO filled with oddly shaped metallic furniture.
I have my orders and the license to execute them as I see fit. I suggest you forget what you saw or what you think you saw.
Number 4. The Alleyway Abduction of Carol and Helen Thomas.
Got some kind of wicked rash.
It was during their daily walk to work when mother and daughter Carol and Helen Thomas reportedly made contact with extraterrestrials in 1988. The pair stopped walking upon noticing a strange humming sound and bright white light, which left them dizzy and disoriented. Carol and Helen both arrived at work hours late, even though they had no recollection of the missing time. The pair also complained of severe skin conditions, as well as feelings of constant anxiety. Carol and Helen would later state, under hypnosis, that they were brought onto an alien craft for experiments and had eggs removed from their bodies via an invasive tube stuck into their stomachs.
But each one of these things comes from an egg, right? So who's laying these eggs?
I'm not sure.
Number 3. The Ryland Subductions.
Good. Hey, mental telepathy, astral projection, you know.
Here you are.
Many on this list revealed their alien abduction tales while under hypnosis. Military veteran Bob Rylance was another one of these cases. Although when Rylance underwent treatment, he discovered it wasn't one specific instance, but rather a series of them that had occurred over the course of his 20-year military service. He claimed that he'd always been sensitive to the paranormal, and after hypnosis, claimed that his abductors would speak to him telepathically during these times, and even use their technology to cure undiagnosed diseases within his body.
It's not going to be an easy road back, but he's going to be okay.
Number 2. A Fire in the Sky.
So what did the craft itself look like?
It was a classic disc-shaped craft.
Travis Walton was missing for days after he and 6 other men on a logging site spied a mysterious light on their way home. Walton's co-workers corroborated that the light was in fact an alien ship, which took Walton via some sort of tractor beam. It wasn't until Walton finally appeared, with no idea of how much time had passed, that details began to emerge about his time away. Travis claimed that he was held on the ship, interrogated, and experimented on by 3 bald creatures with huge eyes. His experience was so spectacular, it was later dramatized in the frightening 1993 film Fire in the Sky.
Get out of there! What is that? I don't know what that is.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Betty and Barney Hill.
But UFO enthusiasts think the Hill case is a classic example of a close encounter of the third kind.
In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill noticed a bright moving light in the sky while driving home. The Hills followed the light some distance, eventually stopping to peer at it through binoculars. Barney claimed he saw figures inside a disc-shaped craft and hastily got back in his car and drove away. Unbeknownst to them, the Hills had lost 2 hours, arriving home to find their shoes mysteriously scuffed and wristwatches broken. They would later claim vivid dreams about being taken on board the ship and being experimented on by 2 mysterious beings that spoke difficult, broken English. What's more, Betty was even able to draw a crude star map of a distant and little-known system.
They could obviously see us on the ground with the lights of the car on. I thought they were playing a game with us out there.
What story do you find the most convincing? Let us know in the comments below.
I can't say for sure what the policeman caught on film here.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.